Hey y'all, welcome to TXT Tells All, or welcome back if you're one of our subscribers. So it's Wednesday, it's hump day. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with the COVID-19 vaccine mandates. There's a lot going on with the Supreme Court rulings and the federal court district rulings on COVID-19 vaccinations, masks, if it's going to be required. So let's get into it because we need to talk about it. It's affecting our lives, and there's a lot of Supreme Court rulings about what companies can and cannot do, what the federal government can and cannot do. And if you're getting on a plane pretty soon, it's going to look a little different because we know even before this, and I'll talk about what this is in a second, but even before this, people were trying to take those masks off on the plane. And, obviously all the airlines were requiring it. But is that going to continue to be the case? If you don't know, you're about to find out because we're going to talk about it. So just on April 18th, so 2 days ago, a federal district court judge in, guess what state? I need somebody to guess because this state, they always do a lot. But in the federal district court of Florida, a federal district judge, Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell, she made a ruling that struck down the mandate for masks to be worn on planes. So now, following that, immediately, pretty much, most of your major airlines changed their requirements and are no longer requiring masks. So when you get on a plane from any of these airlines I'm about to read right now, they cannot require you to wear a mask. Now you can, at your own discretion, wear one. And since this is so new, they don't really know how it's going to be treated in different when the airlines or the airplanes get to different cities that might have different requirements. But on the plane, as far as this ruling that came out on April 18th, you will not be required to wear a mask anymore. So let me tell you the airlines, because we all know these are all the major airlines. There's pretty much no one left. American Airlines, Southwest, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Alaska Airlines, JetBlue, Spirit, and Frontier all say that they are going to follow this ruling and not require masks anymore on airplanes. How do y'all feel about that? Comment, shoot me a comment. Let me know how you feel about it. I personally am still going to wear my mask on airplanes. I don't think it's a bad thing, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. I can tell y'all, when I used to travel a lot for work and just travel personally too. And almost every time I would travel, I would get a cold. I would get sick. Airplanes are full of germs. You're in close quarters. The air is not circulating. It's just not a good look, I think, for any type of cold, flu, or COVID-19. So for me personally, I'm going to continue to wear my mask, but this mandate says that you do not have to wear a mask on the plane. Yvonne commented and said, "This is absolutely insane and unnerving." Yeah, I'm really surprised, Yvonne, that they have struck this down so quickly, especially on airplanes. That was the one place that I really thought was going to hold on. Now, we're out here in Texas, and Texas is doing all sorts of other things that some of the other states and cities are not. I'm out here in Houston, Texas, and I'll talk about Texas in a minute because Texas Governor Abbott has different standards for us out here in Texas, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I'm surprised at the airplanes. I really am. Vivian says, I will be wearing mine. In fact, I will be wearing two. I understand. When you're on an airplane, and I don't know if you guys have seen in social media, there was a lot of videos going around where like people were texting and somebody is behind them and can see their text message and they're saying like, I have COVID-19, I'm just trying to get home. And this was like in the middle of the pandemic. So people, instead of quarantining, let's say they traveled when airplanes, when we started to travel again after the shutdown, people were getting on planes just trying to get back from their vacation or whatever, knowing they had COVID-19 and still on the plane. So now they're not requiring those people to wear masks. I mean, what's going to happen? Yvonne says, I'm always wearing my mask on planes. I usually sleep on flights and I feel better with the mask on. Too many strangers in close quarters. I agree. Really, really close quarters. It's not like you can open a window on a plane. So I know Spirit Airlines, and I'm not sure if I saw this on another airline, but Spirit Airlines did have like a something that they put in the air that was supposed to be filtering the air out. But honestly, me personally, that that's not going to make me feel comfortable enough to take my mask off at this point. People are still getting COVID. I'm not taking my mask off. But just to give you a little background on this judge, because people were like, who is this judge and how come now all of a sudden after this judge makes this one decision, now all these airlines are following suit and not requiring people to wear masks? I think a lot of people were a little surprised. So this judge, Judge Mizell, was nominated by Trump. She was a law clerk actually for Justice Clarence Thomas. So that's kind of her background. But she actually is a really young federal judge. She was 33 when she got nominated and voted in. And she had actually had a lot of criticism in the past when she was nominated for the federal seat because she was young and they felt like she didn't have a lot of experience. She used to be a attorney for Jones Day. She did clerkships for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and then also she did she was a law clerk for another federal court judge, and that's kind of her background. So she's been in the news before when she was being criticized about just her appointment, but now she's back again, striking down this mandate. She said that basically the Center for Disease and Control didn't have authority to make that kind of sweeping regulation requiring the mask. So that is how basically it got shut down. She wrote a 59-page ruling. So very extensive ruling. If you want to read it, you can find it online. And she basically said that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention had exceeded their authority in requiring these masks. And that's kind of been the trend with regulations on masks and on switching gears to the COVID-19 vaccine mandates. The same type of ruling was made back in January of this year when they struck down OSHA tried to say that businesses that had over 100 employees needed to have either COVID vaccination requirement or weekly testing requirement. And the Supreme Court ruled back then that that was exceeded OSHA's authority. And they actually kind of made a decision, a quick decision, on COVID-19 being a danger that you can that's like a day-to-day danger. And they actually said it would be like akin to crime or air pollution. And these are actual words of the Supreme Court. It's not something, they said that COVID-19 was not something that OSHA had the authority to regulate, or COVID-19 vaccinations was not something that OSHA had the authority to regulate because it wasn't confined to the workplace. So it's not a danger, a safety hazard that's confined to the workplace. It's something that Americans were facing, whether or not they were at work or they were just out on personal business in public. So basically, they said the Supreme Court OSHA, I'm sorry, could not have that kind of overarching authority. As you know, healthcare workers can still be required to get the COVID-19 vaccine. So they did allow for that, but they just said that OSHA was trying to overreach too far into that arena. So employers with over 100 employees, now private employers can still require you to take the COVID-19 vaccine or have a mandatory testing requirement. Now, under federal laws, that is not illegal. So I know I get a lot of calls from potential clients asking me, can my employer require that I take the COVID-19 vaccine? Under federal laws, they can still require it. Now, here in Texas, we actually have, under Governor Abbott, we have an executive order that says that no entity in Texas can compel receipt of a COVID-19 vaccine by any individual, including an employee, who objects to such vaccination for any reason of personal conscience, based on a religious belief, or for medical reasons, including prior recovery from COVID-19. So here in Texas, actually, there's you can report a violation in Texas if an employer requires that you take the COVID-19 Yvonne asked, I heard the American Bar Association had no confidence in her. Is this true? In the district court judge. Now, I don't know about the American Bar Association, but I do know that the NAACP had actually had asserted arguments against her being nominated. At that time, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and I know a lot of the organizations that were against her being nominated were saying it for two reasons. One, they said she didn't have enough experience, and two, they were saying that they really needed the presidential administration really needed to be focused on getting COVID-19 under control and not appointing new judges. They felt like it wasn't the time to focus energies on that because the pandemic was at its height, and they just said it was the wrong place to put attention. So those are the two reasons I heard. I haven't, so to answer your question, I haven't heard about the American Bar Association, but I did hear about the NAACP being against her nomination. So some more Supreme Court rulings that I want to talk about that came out recently this week. One was with a colonel in the U.S. Air Force, and he refused to take the COVID vaccine because he said it was against his religion. Now, it was interesting when I was reading because he said his name was Colonel Jonathan Dunn, and he said that when he really didn't have a problem with vaccines because he had taken many vaccines in the past, but he said that when President Biden started talking about COVID-19 vaccines, he said that he felt like the vaccine ceased to be merely a medical intervention and took on a symbolic and even sacramental quality. So he said because President Biden was kind of pushing that this vaccine mandate should happen, that's when he felt like it was against his religious beliefs, and he asserted that he wanted a religious accommodation not to take the COVID-19 vaccine. The Air Force said, no, basically, you will be terminated if you don't take the vaccine. So what he did is he appealed to the Supreme Court for an injunction. So he just wanted to basically put everything on hold until the decision could be appealed, and so that he wouldn't face any adverse action in the meantime, so that he wouldn't be terminated in the meantime. And the Supreme Court said, no, they said, they ruled against him and said that they could require that he take this COVID-19 vaccine. So that is not the first time that the Supreme Court has allowed disciplinary action against a officer. This time it was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. The last time it was a Navy officer, and it said that the Navy actually could consider the vaccination status of 35 of its service members in deciding where these people would be placed. So would they be deployed or where would they be assigned? So it's kind of confusing, right? Because on one hand, you have this new district court ruling that says can't require masks. You have the governor of Texas saying you can't require people to be vaccinated. But then on the other hand, you have the Supreme Court ruling on cases that affect the service members of the Air Force and the Navy, saying that if you refuse to get a vaccine, you can be disciplined or you can be terminated, or they just can consider your vaccination status in making employment decisions. So I will tell you, as an employment lawyer, the world of COVID-19 mandates, COVID-19 vaccinations, wrongful termination because of refusal to get COVID-19 vaccines is kind of crazy right now because the rulings from courts are coming out every day. I mean, we had them back in January from the Supreme Court. Now we have some coming out in April. I feel like the law is continuously changing. Sharon said, I am keeping my mask on. I will wear two on plane. Yeah, it's crazy out here on how things are changing really fast. And on one hand, you have many people, even in the medical community, saying this is still a pandemic, especially outside of the United States. My sister actually visited from Senegal, and she was saying how things are so different there. They're really still taking COVID very seriously compared to Texas, where right now, I mean, masks are off. It's just a different climate than even New York City. Because when I visit my family in New York and New Jersey, it's very different there compared to Texas. So I think right now, everything is kind of all over the place. And I just wanted to do this live to kind of talk about the laws and what's coming down the pipeline, especially the ones that are really going to affect us. Like, you get on a plane and you see people without masks, your first initial reaction is probably to ask the flight attendant, hey, in the past, they've been mandating people have masks on. I've seen flight attendants be very, very diligent about that. But as of April 18th, on all of those airlines that I named, you're going to see people that don't have masks on, and it's really nothing that we can do about it. Yvonne said it's a sad state of affairs when having a president who cares about whether citizens live or die is seen as a threat or a reason to mistrust. Yeah, I mean, President Biden's administration has tried to kind of keep things under control, still having mandates, having requirements, at least testing requirements, even if not requiring the vaccine, but requiring testing. And right now it seems like some of the efforts are working because, like I said, under federal laws, private employers can still require their employees to get the vaccine or wear masks or do testing, except in Texas. But even here in Texas, some private employers are still requiring it, and all the executive order is basically saying is that it could be a violation if the employee reports it. But I'm interested to see how the law develops. I do wrongful termination cases, and it'll be interesting to see if this really develops into a big area of wrongful termination as the law starts to change and say you can't require somebody to wear a mask or you can't require somebody to get a vaccine. If that's the trend, it'll be interesting to see how employment law develops with these cases coming down the pipeline. But like I said, so far, with the U.S. Air Force and the Navy, when they tried to assert their rights not to be vaccinated, the Supreme Court said no, that's not going to work, and actually ruled against them. Vivian asks, what happens to the people that were banned because they didn't want to wear a mask? That's true. So I'm guessing you're talking about on planes, not wanting to wear a mask on planes. I'm not sure how that's going to develop. I'm sure it'll be reversed because now that not only do we have case law saying that it's not mandatory that you wear a mask, we also have the airlines declaring that they're not requiring it. So if anybody was banned because they didn't want to wear a mask, now that has to be overturned because it just doesn't align with the policies anymore. So I'm sure some people are going to be really happy because I've been on multiple planes where people did not want to wear their mask. But there's going to be people that are upset. And I'm also interested to see how this changes travel because as we get into the season, summertime, where a lot of people are going to be traveling, kids are going to be out of school and traveling and going on vacations. Then you have the holidays coming back around where people are traveling. Are COVID-19 numbers going to go up as a result of Judge Mizell's decision and the decision by the airlines to remove the mask mandate? I mean, only time can tell. I hope that everybody stays safe because I know I have travel planned. I'm sure a lot of you guys have travel planned too. So, I mean, I do hope that everybody stays safe. I hope that the trend doesn't change and the numbers don't start to go back up because obviously people lost their lives as a result of COVID-19. But we just don't know. We just have to see what happens. But because all these rulings came out so recently this week, I thought it would be good to do a live just to talk about it. So if you have any other questions or comments, make sure you hit me in the comment section below. I'm going to put all my sources in the comment box. So if you want to read any of these articles where I got this information, that information will be there for you. I don't know if you want to read the 59-page ruling about the no masks on airplanes anymore, but if you do, I'll link that there too. Stay safe out there, y'all. Thanks for watching the live. Tune in to TXC Tells All. We have new videos posted every week. Thanks for joining me and asking questions. I appreciate the dialogue. See y'all next time.